Good morning. Welcome to the NewsWire here on SportsGrid, your midweek edition of the show. Plenty to recap from last night. We've got one NBA game, one National Hockey League game, and of course, the rest of the series begin today. We'll also bring in Kyle Bond of Sporting News, very latest on the pitch in terms of soccer. Also, we will be joined by Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report, the latest in sports betting, and Simon Applebaum will tell us what the ratings looked like for last week's PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. That and a whole lot more of baseball and other sports here on the show. But let's begin with the Western Conference Finals in the NBA last night. Really competitive game through about the third quarter, but the Oklahoma City Thunder not only win, but they end up covering the spread rather easily in the fourth quarter because they outscored Minnesota 32-18 in the third period. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 31 points and 9 assists. Final score 114-288. They're now up 1-0 in the best of 7 series. Oklahoma City was the better of the two teams during the regular season. You wouldn't have known this watching the game. Basically, at halftime, looked like Minnesota was going to hang in there. But as the game went on, the Thunder got stronger. They ended up closing it out in the end. And their head coach, Mark Daigneault, definitely aware of how well the team played in the second half as opposed to the first.
I thought that was the game, for us, to play as poorly as we did offensively in the first half and to be down 4 was a major victory for us at halftime. And the defense was a huge catalyst in that. I thought offensively, it's a very different series. It's a very different team stylistically, and I just thought it took us some time to calibrate that. They're a lot more pressure-oriented on the perimeter. They're a lot more physical on the perimeter. Denver, plays you at a lower pickup and packs it in. Their physicality is different, but this team is really up the floor, pressuring and really after you. And so I just thought it took us a second to calibrate to the opponent, but our defense allowed us the margin to do that, obviously.
I want to make that emphasis, come out of halftime with a punch, with a little jolt, with some energy, and not ease into it. And we'd be better off towards the end of the game. We just made that emphasis, and we didn't panic, obviously, with the struggles in the first half. We missed a bunch of layups as a group. We missed free throws, the easy ones. And we knew that we stuck with it. They would eventually fall, and they did.
And for Oklahoma City, they will take on Minnesota tomorrow night in Game 2. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves really have to pick up the pieces after the first game. You would think that they felt like they gave the game away, but Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards after the game last night said they felt like they hung in there.
We proved that we can do it, but we got to make it happen too. We can't just be like, all right, we did it last year, so, we're going to do it again. This is a great team. They've been playing great basketball all year. So, good thing is we proved to ourselves that we can do it, but, we got to make it happen.
And I know you said that the ankle's not bothering you, but of those 13 shots, you only took 1 in the paint all night. Is that more just the defense that they're throwing at you, or you're seeing something different, the explosiveness? That's not what we're used to seeing from you.
Yeah, they're just in the gaps. It was kind of hard to get to the paint, honestly. Regardless of that's my game, but they definitely took that aspect of my game away tonight from getting downhill. So good job to those guys.
And then Naz Reid said in the locker room, he just felt like he liked the shots that he was getting, that Dante was getting, that Nikhil was getting. They just weren't falling. So as the two guys are sort of the leaders of this group, do you say something to them after this, or is it just keep shooting?
Yeah, they good. They know. They got great looks. Just couldn't make them. A lot of them went in and out. And that's going to help us. That's going to help me and Ju, because they usually make those shots. So we're not really worried about them making shots. Yeah, they'll be all right.
Now over to the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs we go. The defending champion Florida Panthers on the road as slight underdogs against the Carolina Hurricanes end up winning this game rather easily. They go up big and win 5-2 in the end. 5 different players scored goals for the Panthers. The loss marked Carolina's 13th straight in a conference final, which is sort of crazy, going back to being swept in the East in 2009, 2019, and also 2023. But certainly penalty killing helped the Panthers in the end and got off to a good start. That was the key to the game, according to head coach Paul Maurice.
Well, you guys get 2 goals on the power play. Carolina hasn't given up much on their PK so far this postseason. Just what does that do for you guys, and just to be able to break through there, especially with how well they've been playing?
Yeah, that's important. It's all, this whole thing is a confidence game. So you can get to the next game feeling good about it. They're going to make adjustments. There's a lot of broken play goals in this because we have almost identical penalty kills. So there's not usually the stuff you see on TV where it's 7 passes to the seam. It's just the pucks are all contested on both teams' penalty kills. So you get a couple to go for it, you get to feel a little bit better, you get a little more confident in handling the pressure of the other team's pressure. You don't get frustrated.
In Major League Baseball last night, division game, of course, between the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. Max Muncy had the difference maker last night. In 10 innings, it was a sacrifice fly, and LA beats Arizona 4-3 after losing the day before. This is going to be a dogfight in the National League West with all of the teams involved trying to win the division. So that leads Max Muncy to say it was a big win.
Yeah, it was kind of a big game for us. We were definitely in a slide. To get that one against the division opponent, it's kind of a big game for us, and hopefully gives us a little momentum to build on it in the fourth.
Max, with the way that Yamamoto pitched, did you feel like an extra sense of urgency to really give him come out with a win?
Yeah, I thought he was going to go distance tonight. I thought he had the stuff to, get the no-hitter, but he was, like I said, he was really, really good, commanding all of his stuff. Really sucks. We only gave him 1 run. We obviously not a great job by us, but get away with the win there. It's obviously the biggest part.
Red Sox taking on the Mets again last night. Boston gets the best of this one. Rafael Devers homered. Red Sox bullpen shuts down the Mets 2-0. But really the story of this game was the Red Sox bullpen. They had to enter the game after Walker Buehler was ejected very early on in this one. In fact, the Sox pen went 6 2/3 scoreless. Words were exchanged between Francisco Lindor and Walker Buehler, and the umpire ended up throwing out Buehler. Kind of odd there. Here's Alex Cora on what transpired.
It was weird. They were going back and forth. I don't know what the exchange was, but I've been doing this for a few years, I was just begging, give me a break, I'll go out and you can throw me out. We'll keep the pitcher in the game, but I guess he had enough. I don't know why, and at that point, I got to go too. I thought yesterday was a good day for us without me, so I decided to do it again.
It was the point you were making, I think, was just like hit a weight.
Yeah, that's it. It looked. I wasn't even paying attention. We were waiting for the call from Mikey as far as like the replay, and then I look up and he threw him out. So one of those that you don't want that to happen, right? Especially the starter. But I guess he had his point, and he threw him out, and then he threw me out too.
The Tigers got the best of the Cardinals last night. 5-4 win, close game. Riley Green hit a 9th-inning RBI double as Detroit beat St. Louis. Green also homered in the game earlier. Tariq Skubal, by the way, the ace of the Tigers, pitched in this game 5 2/3 and gave up 3 earned runs. Also last night, battle between New York and Texas goes to the Yankees. Aaron Judge hit a home run off that into that short porch in right field. Will Warren, Ben Rice, also stars of the game as New York beat Texas. And again, that final was 5-2. All right, coming up next here on the show, we'll be joined by Kyle Bond of Sporting News. We'll preview the Europa League final, which is coming up later today between Tottenham and Manchester United. And for those of you who are interested in streaming our show 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all of our content at SportsGrid can be attained by downloading the SportsGrid app. It's available for iOS and Android. And if you have a phone, you can just scan that code, go to the store of your choice, whether it's the, of course, iTunes store or Google Play, and just download it. You'll be getting it for free. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Thomas, like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Kyle Bond is with us from Sporting News. He's back from his trip overseas, saw some fun soccer, and now we'll get back to some of the matches coming up later today and this weekend. Kyle, great to have you back here stateside, previewing the games as well. Thanks for coming on. All right, so let's dive in, because we got a lot of games to preview here. The Europa League final. If there's a soccer league out there, I'm learning about it this year with you here on the show. Two teams I'm familiar with, the Premier League, Tottenham and Manchester United. They will face off. They play later today. Let's get into this matchup here and sort of what the Europa League is exactly, because I'm familiar with the Premier and the Champions and all of these things, and Bundesliga. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. Tell me about the Europa League.
There sure is, yeah. So this is the second tier competition below the Champions League. So for clubs that didn't make it into the Champions League, there's the Europa League, and then there's the Conference League, which is the third tier competition below that, relatively new one. But these two have been around for a long time, Champions League, Europa League. You just don't hear about this one as much because everybody cares about the Champions League. But what's great about the Europa League is that if you win it, you qualify for the Champions League next year. So that's exactly what Tottenham and Manchester United are fighting for, which is a huge deal because the money that comes with that is massive. If you look at the prize money for the Europa League, so the winner of the Europa League can earn a maximum over the course of the competition if they win all of their league phase games and then make it all the way and win the title of about 25 million euros from start to finish. They earn around 20 million euros just for qualifying for the Champions League league phase. So you would almost double your prize money by winning the competition just to qualify for the Champions League next year. So there's a huge amount of money on the line in this game. And these two teams really need that. Tottenham are in 17th in the Premier League table. Manchester United are in 16th. They've both had absolutely dismal league seasons. They've gone all in on European competition. And whoever doesn't come out of this game with a win is going to be really, really, the bad season is going to be staring them right in the face. Whereas whoever comes out of this with a European title can pretty much forget about the horrible league season that they've had and go, hey, we won a European trophy. We're in the Champions League next year. So this is a weird European final because there's not really as much to gain as there is to lose. The loser is going to come out of this in real trouble. So there's a lot to lose in this game, and it's a really weird dynamic in that sense. But looking at this game, I like Manchester United in this game. It is a game between two teams that have really struggled domestically. They've had a great European season, but now they face a team that's from their own domestic league. So it's a hard one to call. Two evenly matched teams, but Manchester United beat better teams to reach this stage. They beat Athletic Club in the semis. They beat Lyon in the quarterfinals. Tottenham doesn't really have the same draw that they used to reach the final. And I just like them. They were at plus 140 yesterday. They're down near plus 125 to win in 90 minutes now. The market has been clearly moving in the direction of Manchester United. And then I really like yellow cards in this game because of what we talked about, how much there is to lose in it. It's going to be a very emotional game. The German referee, Felix Zweier, has shown a lot of yellow cards this season, almost, I think, 5.5 cards per game or over that total in Europe this season, which is a huge amount. And that's where the line is, 5.5. It's a high bar to clear, but I like getting the over at around plus 125. It should be an emotional one and a fun one. Now, no, I didn't say a good one. I don't think this is going to be a high quality game, but it should be a very exciting game.
3 o'clock Eastern, and we'll follow the action later on Pharrell Coast to Coast. Let's also follow the action in the Premier League, where this is the final weekend of the season. The top is settled. The bottom is settled. So really, it's just some of the middle that is not. So what is at stake going into the final weekend?
Yeah, so we know the 7 teams that are going to qualify for European competitions next season. We mentioned the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. We just don't know which teams will qualify for which tournaments. And getting that Champions League place is a huge deal because, as we discussed earlier, the prize money falls off significantly to the Europa League and the Conference League. So getting one of those top 5 spots is going to be huge. 6th place will get Europa League. 7th place will get Conference League. Right now, you're looking at Nottingham Forest is in 7th. Aston Villa are in 6th, but it's incredibly tight. All those teams are within 1 or 2 points. So the big game here, the only game between 2 teams that are in that top 7 is Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. Chelsea are in, I want to say 4th or 5th. They're right on the cusp of the Champions League places. If they draw or lose this game, they could fall out of that Champions League place and end up in Europa League or Conference League. Nottingham Forest are in 7th. So right now they're in the Conference League position. They need to win to move themselves up, and they need a little bit of help as well. So there's a lot on the line here in these final places, the final games. Only Liverpool and Arsenal are confirmed into the Champions League. The other 5 teams still have a lot of movement to go. Manchester City beat Bournemouth yesterday, which put them in 3rd in a pretty strong position, but they still have to take care of business on the final weekend. So we're looking at a lot of that to come here. Nottingham Forest have struggled over the last few weeks. I think Chelsea should be able to secure that Champions League spot, but there's a lot to watch and keep an eye on, a lot of moving parts.
All right, let's put a bow on the Italian league. I know that's wrapping up as well, Kyle. Friday, there's I know a couple of games, big game coming up too. What do you make of how this will come down to the wire?
There's a really interesting possibility here in the Italian league. They just reintroduced a quirky rule about 2 or 3 years ago, and it may come into play here. Most leagues have a number of tie-break scenarios, right? So you have goal differential, head-to-head record, whatever it may be, and it's different for each league. In the Italian league, it's head-to-head record, and then the next tiebreaker, only for the title, not for any other place in the table, is a 1-game playoff. Well, you've got Napoli leading Inter Milan by 1 point here. If Napoli lose and Inter draw, they drew both their head-to-head games this season, which means if they finish level on points, they could have a 1-game playoff for the Italian league title. That would be insane. However, I don't expect that to happen. Napoli lead by a point, and they have the easier final game. Inter have to go to Como, who have been very good over the last few months. So I expect Napoli to win the title. But let's all keep our fingers crossed for chaos in the Italian league, shall we?
Chaos in sports. That's what we like. Kyle, thanks again for coming on. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom. It's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Lots of NFL news over the last few days. We'll focus on that as we await the NFL's decision as to how to rule on the Philadelphia Phillies tush-push. We'll also hear from Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and also, of course, the Birds got a new OC as well. Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. One of the big sleeper teams entering the NFL season to get to the Super Bowl are the Cincinnati Bengals. Such a strong finish to their season last year, and a lot of bad luck, let's be honest, in the first half of their season a year ago. But their schedule this season hasn't really done them many favors. In fact, once again, they're traveling to Baltimore at night on Thursday night. Simply put, they make the Bengals play the Ravens a lot on the road during the week and at night. And so Joe Burrow, at one of his offseason media availabilities yesterday, decided it was time to talk about how he feels the schedule makers have it out for the Bengals, sending them back to Baltimore.
Playing in Baltimore for the fourth straight primetime year isn't ideal. Maybe we could get one of those in Cincinnati next year, please. Maybe an international game next year, too. I think, part of the reason I wanted to do the quarterback show, I wanted to help grow the game internationally. And so to not have a stage like that is a little disappointing because I feel like I've consciously worked hard to try to grow the game internationally over the last 18 months or so. So hopefully at some point in my career we can go over there.
It seems like if the NFL comes knocking on Joe Burrow's door for a favor, I'm not sure he's going to answer that door. All right, now let's get to the Philadelphia Eagles. As I said today, we'll find out whether or not the tush-push will still exist. The leader of that, the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, is Jalen Hurts. Of course, they have some new staff right now on the offense, and Hurts commented on the extension for their head coach, Nick Sirianni, and how the offense potentially could look this upcoming season.
First and foremost, congratulations to him. Everything that he's been able to achieve and accomplish, he's earned. And just to see his evolution and his growth from my perspective and playing quarterback for him, his whole entire tenure here, it's been a great experience, it's been a great ride. It's been a lot of learning for the both of us, and hopefully we're just getting started.
With Kevin Patullo, a little bit different because he's been here. So how is that transition working out, the early stages of it?
Coach Patullo is he's been here throughout the journey as well. He's had a different position, always played a pivotal role in what we've done, and I think he's got a great mentality and a great approach coming into everything right now. And so the bigger picture is just taking it a day at a time, truly, keeping the main thing. And I think that's where we are. Everyone's in a good place. Everyone's focused, and everyone cares about their duties and what they're supposed to do.
There's a new head coach also in Dallas, another hand-picked one by the owner, Jerry Jones. In case you missed the last few months of the NFL offseason, their new head coach is Brian Schottenheimer. Yes, a little anonymous, let's be honest, going into the next NFL season. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe a high-profile coach doesn't work for Dallas. Jimmy Johnson, Bill Parcells, Mike McCarthy. Schottenheimer may not have the cachet of some others, but potentially Schottenheimer talks about helping out the culture of the team moving forward.
We want Dak to play quarterback to the best of his ability. He's a great culture piece because he's such a good dude, and he's such a great teammate, and his story is incredible. But when you talk about culture, it's more than just one guy, and that's what I think I'm so excited about with all the new pieces that we've added. And it probably sounds coach speak, but it's really not. We've added all these new pieces. So it's our job as a coaching staff to get these guys to hang out together outside of the building, spend time together in the building, get to know each other. Coaches get with their players, go to dinner, do things together, because we have to learn each other's stories and each other's scars so that we can truly learn how to work together and love one another and support one another. We're all going to have good days and bad days, and that's not just something we talk about. It's something we do. I take a lot of these guys to dinner. Why? Okay, it's important to me. Do I have things I could be doing? Of course I do. But there's nothing more important than me getting to know some of these players.
All right, that's Brian Schottenheimer, head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Coming up next here on the show, it's time to check in with Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report. Is the state of Alabama ready for a new approach to sports wagering? We'll bring in Pat from LSR, dive into that, and also the latest in Minnesota as well. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series with a rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too short of a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The Great American Race is this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. It is the Indianapolis 500. And so what are we talking about here with the Indy 500 and Pat Evans? Normally we don't do a ton of auto racing with him, but certainly we are here on the show. Pat, welcome back. And I think what's making news is not the fact that the Indy 500 is available to be bet on this weekend, but the race before it is, and it gives both of us the opportunity on this show to use the word weenie, so we're all for it.
Yeah, this press release came across my desk, or email, I guess, yesterday, and I just couldn't turn it down. I asked Matt Waters, I go, can I write about this? He goes, if it really strikes your fancy, please do. Yeah, Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles will be racing on Friday. It'll be live streamed on Fox on Sports or NASCAR or IndyCar on Fox's social channels, as well as Fox Sports app. And interestingly enough, it'll be 6 Wienermobiles, which are spread across the country, and they'll have new liveries that have different regions represented, like the Chicago Dog here for the Midwest, down for you the Kraut Dog, which I've never had, which I'm curious now about trying. But DraftKings has also partnered with them, and it's offering a free-to-play contest. You can go, I guess, make your picks on which Wienermobile will win the race on Friday, and a $10,000 pool for the winner. So there is a tie in there, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have written about it, because the sportsbook is offering something on it. But yeah, it's not every day we get to talk about a Wienermobile race.
No, we don't. And so we thought we would bring as much Wiener talk as we could to NewsWire, and I think we've accomplished our mission. All right, now let's move to bigger stories, I guess, as you would say. All right, so sports betting in Alabama, this is an uphill battle just like it is in Georgia. But over at LSR, legalsportsreport.com, you have a column out about how Alabama's trying to incorporate sports betting, maybe through one of the tribes, which honestly, Pat, I mean, not a bad idea. Maybe the only way this thing gets going.
Yeah, I mean, for the last 25 years, Alabama's been trying to get a lottery. They're one of 5 states without it, and they've been trying. Lawmakers have been trying for a large portion of Alabamians want it, and just there's some sort of blockage for a lot of lawmakers who believe their constituents don't want it, even though polling is showing they do. And last year, the Porch Band of Creek Indians started getting involved a little bit more. They bought in, they have a couple of electronic bingo casinos in Alabama. They also just bought a racetrack and have huge expansion plans should casino gambling get passed, which, of course, in recent years, sports betting and casino gambling have been kind of lumped into that lottery efforts. And in 2021, there was a bill that passed the Senate and fell apart. And then since then, there's just been kind of a push and pull between the chambers saying, you got to do it, you got to do it. And so even though they're basing it on basically the same language, they can't get it through because, of course, there's those lawmakers who believe their constituents don't want it. And the tribe came back or recently said, we haven't really been trying that hard during this outside of the session. We come in, we try to lobby, talk about things during the session. Outside of that, they don't. So this year they're saying, you know what, maybe we're going to up it. We're going to do some more polling. We're going to share with lawmakers that our constituents, our districts want it more so than maybe thought of in the past. But we'll see if it changes. One of the main sponsors, Senator Greg Albritton, after this session passed with no movement of any sort, he said, this issue, even just the lottery, might be dead for another 2 decades, which is a long time. And you have to believe those residents of Alabama who want it are kind of not excited about that thought. So we'll see if, the tribe really does amp up their push and really share their constituent hopes. Then maybe lawmakers will start changing their tune and work harder to get it. Alabama in the past has been one of those states that I'm like, okay, it could get done because there have been serious pushes from both the Senate and the House. But yeah, then ultimately it falls apart every year. So we'll see. It could be dead for 2 decades or could go strong to the finish line next year. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely interesting to see Alabama making a push. Unfortunately, the flip side of that is sports betting Minnesota. Pat, since we started having you on the show, has not made the progress that we wanted to. Another step back. Going to have to wait not just till 2026, maybe even beyond with the Gopher State.
Yeah, Minnesota is just, again, one of those states. I mean, at this point, every kind of state that's made any sort of strong push toward passage is now kind of the one you look toward to do it the next session. And Minnesota, like you said, ever since I've been coming on the show, has been trying to legalize it. And, there's always been a little bit of a hope. A couple of years ago, it passed the House and fell apart in the Senate because there was disagreements. And last year we saw a very strong push at the end that said, okay, there's a agreement on all parties, and we're going to get it done next year. That agreement came together at the last hour, and the session adjourned, and we were like, okay, it's going to get done next year. And sure enough, this year it started. Senator Matt Klein introduced the bill that brought all the stakeholders together and happy about it. The tribes, the 11 tribes in Minnesota that would control it as a monopoly, were excited. You had the tracks, the horse racing tracks, who had been kind of the sore point because they wanted either a license for themselves or a big revenue share. They had that figured out. The charity gaming aspect, they had that figured out. So it looked like the Democrat Farmer Labor Party and the Republicans, who were more with the tracks, all came together, said, okay, this is great. Well, then it was introduced in its first session or first committee, and the opposition reared its head, which, I had been told last fall that there is bipartisan opposition strong enough to doom it. And sure enough, it did. And what's interesting, though, is that was in February. The whole session goes on, little to no talking about sports betting. And then there's a budget that they're putting together, and there was a proposal to include a study on sports betting and how to implement it. And that was stripped out in a committee where a chair said, we're too early in the discussion of legalizing sports betting to study it. And so it didn't make the budget. The budget actually didn't finish before the session adjourned on Monday. So there will be a special session. Whether or not sports betting, makes its way back into that discussion, even just for a study, is to be seen. But so far, with the regular session adjourned on Monday, sports betting in Minnesota will have to wait at least another year. But it doesn't seem like a whole lot of progress was made, despite there being that promising connection of all the parties involved wanting to get it done. So Minnesota, yeah, we're just going to have to keep watching and waiting and to see if anything else can happen.
And finally, Pat, we close it out with some debate on a potential tax hike in the state of North Carolina. What are the odds that they raise tax rates on sports betting in North Carolina?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. The Senate, of course, last month introduced their proposal for a budget that included a doubling of the tax rate from 18 to 36%, and that includes appropriations to the university system, which it already includes, but now they're putting North Carolina State into it. The House, we were like, okay, well, maybe the House will also submit their budget with that same tax hike. The House's proposal was released this week and does not include a tax hike. It just keeps it at 18%. It does change the appropriations. And so this part of it will definitely at some point be talked about in the conference committee because of the differences in the budget proposals. It will have to go to a conference committee and see how it shapes up. And we'll see if any sort of raise comes. It probably won't be 36%, but it might stay at 18 or it might go up a little bit. We'll see.
All right, Pat. Great stuff as always. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for coming on NewsWire, and I hope you don't have too busy of a day ahead of you, Pat. Let's just put it that way.
I don't. Thank you so much, Craig.
All right, Pat Evans with us. Hey, some breaking news from the NFL. ESPN reports that the tush push will remain in play next year. We don't know exactly how those votes went, but apparently not enough to ban the tush push. So now you can go about your day without a lot of stress and worry now that you know that big piece of information. We'll be right back.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Simon Applebaum, our resident television insider, and breaks it all down for us in terms of ratings and also as it pertains to sports betting. He's with us. His podcast is called Tomorrow Will Be Televised. You can download it wherever you listen to apps or podcasts, etc. Let's bring in Simon here. Simon, great to have you back here on the show. We're going to get to some of the WNBA numbers here. I know that they're underway as well, but I want to start off with the big event this past weekend, the PGA Championship, which 2 years ago was one of the most exciting finishes we've ever seen at the PGA Championship. Not as much this year. So what did that mean for the overall ratings?
4.8 million people watching the final round on CBS. And believe it or not, even though that was one of the highest rated events of the weekend, it was down 4% from a year ago. The Saturday coverage, where Sky Scheffler made his move, which ultimately had him win the PGA, only 3.1 million people were watching. That was down 12% from a year ago. The ESPN coverage on Thursday and Friday, that was also down. Despite that, CBS's coverage of the PGA Golf Tour so far is up 13% from a year ago. So CBS is still very happy with what turned out. The big surprise was the Preakness race. Despite that incredible finish by journalism to take the second leg of the Triple Crown, and despite the fact there were 4.6 million people watching NBC's coverage at the time, believe it or not, it was the least watched Preakness race since, get this, 1995. It was down 16% from last year. Not good news for NBC. The big story, though, was the WNBA. The big game on Saturday on ABC, Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese rematch with that whole tiff between the two. 2.7 million people watching that game. The most watched regular season WNBA game since 2020. And the second game, which featured the champion New York Liberty, 1.7 million people watching. So the WNBA is off to a very, very good start. And I understand the first Ion doubleheader on Friday night did well, too.
Yeah, I want to go back real quick to the Triple Crown here, Simon. We've heard, the president of Pimlico say that basically they have to change the dates of when they race the Preakness, give the Kentucky Derby winner a few more weeks. We obviously know the Kentucky Derby winner did not run in the Preakness, and Journalism, who was one of the favorites, ended up winning. Why do you think such a very big drop-off? Was it just simply the fact that people knew that the horse was not going to race? Because we've seen that in the past, whether it's been injury or other things to the horse. You think that just horse racing fans in general are turning their eyes away from it, saying, you know what, if you're not going to even try for a Triple Crown, we're not going to watch?
I think that's it, Craig. Once the horse racing fans and the casual fans realize that there can be no Triple Crown winner, that automatically plunges the races down. I think there's two things that need to be done. Number one, They should move the Preakness to a 3-week deal, the same way you have the 3-week gap between the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes. That might help things. That might encourage the Kentucky Derby winner to stay in the hunt for the Triple Crown. Secondly, I think NBC and Peacock have to cut their coverage down. For years, CBS would run the Triple Crown races, all 3 of them, and they do it from 5 to 6 o'clock. And that was really good. I think they have to move the time of the race away from prime time and put it in between 5 and 6 o'clock, and maybe have the coverage go like this. Peacock runs the early part of it, let's say from noon to 4 o'clock, and then you do a 2-hour show on NBC. That might help things.
Yeah, no, it does seem like there's just so much time once the coverage begins to actually get to the race. All right, so, the NFL is going to be on YouTube this season. We know that that's a first. I know that Netflix broadcast last year, Simon, and they will broadcast, I believe, again this year, but they're looking even for a bigger piece of the pie.
They certainly are, Craig. The thing is that Netflix wants more live television. The Christmas Day games did great for them. WWE, Monday Night Raw is doing great for them. You may have heard Star Search, the popular talent search competition in syndication in the 1980s and 90s. That is going to come back live this fall on Netflix, so they want more. And Roger Goodell also sees Netflix as a breadwinner for their games. The question is, and we understand negotiations are going on between the NFL and Netflix, and Netflix has said this, can we make NFL games a regular event in the regular season? How can we make it distinctive? I think there's 3 ways they can do it. Number 1, all international games. Good, because Netflix is available worldwide live. Number 2, Friday night. Maybe make it like a night, which we don't have pro football on. Make it Friday Night Lights, for example. And maybe Saturday afternoon up against college football as an alternative. Either Saturday afternoon or Saturday night. You know that in the NFL, in the regular season, you have, after the college football regular season's done, you have Saturday afternoon games. Why not have a Saturday afternoon regular season game, let's say from September till early December, or a Saturday night game? I think the teams would like it, and I think that's the way that Netflix could promote the games as something very special. Now, in terms of YouTube, this is a huge deal, because this is the game that's the first Friday night game that ran from Sao Paulo, Brazil. It ran on Peacock last year with Noah Eagle calling the game. This is going to be now on YouTube. And it says 2 things. Number 1, YouTube is now a TV player. More people watch YouTube on the smart TV stereo device than they do on the smartphone or they do on the laptop or PC. That's number 1. Number 2, YouTube has NFL Sunday Ticket. Now they have a big regular season game off the bat in the opening weekend, and it could lead to more.
Yeah, and I think YouTube having a game that's actually free, when you think about it, yes, you have to watch ads, but this is unlike any other streaming service before without actually having to pay up front. Definitely a game changer. All right, so the Great American Races this weekend, Simon, let's just be honest. The Indy 500, 30, 40 years ago was a lot bigger than what it is now. Some people probably don't even know what's going on this weekend, but you have that. You also have a big NASCAR race as well, and should be really good for Prime Video and Fox being able to get involved.
Yeah. First of all, the Indy 500 is still one of the classic races. And if you're an auto racing fan, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening is going to be nirvana for you. You got the Indy 500 on Fox. By the way, they will have that Wiener race that Pat was talking about in the pregame show. You've got the Coca-Cola 600 on Prime Video, which, by the way, good news for racing fans. When the cars are racing, no ads. When the cars are in yellow or red laps, that's when you get the ads. And this is what Amazon's going to do with their 5-race NASCAR package, which kicks in this Sunday. And then you have the Grand Prix of Monaco, great Formula One race. This was on ABC's Wide World of Sports for years. Now it's on live on ABC. If you love great international racing, this is the one for you.
Simon, great to catch up with you here on NewsWire. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks again.
You too. And to all the people around the horn, thank you for 23 great years on ESPN. All the very best to Tony Real and everybody.
Yeah, great show. Leaving the air this week. Thanks again, Simon. We'll take a quick time out. We're not leaving the air. We got some last licks coming up next. Get into the Olympics in 2028. May seem some of your favorite NFL players. We'll be right back.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Flag football is coming to the U.S. Olympics in 2028, and a big game in the NBA is coming your way tonight. We'll preview both as we wrap up the show. Here are some last licks. You may have recently heard that the state of Maryland was suing both FanDuel and DraftKings for essentially not protecting people from themselves betting a lot on sports and sort of enticing them to make bets that they couldn't even afford to make. Well, how about this story? Now coming out of Pennsylvania, there's a bunch of people in a class action lawsuit that are suing in the state of Pennsylvania DraftKings, saying they lost a bunch of money on DraftKings and they want their money back because the federal lawsuit says that instead of trying to help people that are compulsive gamblers, DraftKings targets and exploits these individuals. It also says that the company extends promotional deals that offer, quote, no sweat bets or deposit matches, and there's a lot of fine print involved. Now, I don't think anything is ever going to come of these sort of bets because, obviously these companies are well protected, and if you're involved in a lawsuit and you're going to have to give a testimony, you're really going to have to give compelling testimony as to why you were a compulsive gambler and decided not to stop. But it does raise the question is, do we have to really emphasize more responsible gaming here in the United States and above? The answer is yes. I mean, you simply cannot have people that cannot afford to bet continually making deposits into their account and losing all their money. But is it the fault of the sports betting operators? I mean, what is the difference between going to Las Vegas in person and placing a bet and doing it online? Is it betting on credit? Is that what is involved here? Seemingly, I don't think this is going to win, but the more you hear about this sort of stuff I don't think this is coming to an end. So now we have the state of Maryland and people in Pennsylvania saying that they bet, they lost, but they shouldn't have been allowed to, based on their own volition. Very odd. All right, the 2028 Olympics is coming, and a decision is going to be made pretty soon. In fact, it looks like it pretty much already is. You're going to see some of your favorite NFL players participate in the Olympic Games in 2028, and not playing football, folks, but playing flag football. And there's some speculation as to who may end up being in it for, Team USA. You would assume that no matter who plays in Team USA, they're going to win, because why in the world would any other country beat us in football? It's not possible. But could we see, as an example, Joe Burrow play? Could we see Jalen Hurts? Could we see, some of the best quarterbacks play in the NFL? Or this will be, secondary type players? Still remains to be seen. I have a feeling some of the younger players in the NFL, the rookies that are on their initial contracts, will probably be the ones participating. I find it hard to believe some of the bigger deals in the National Football League, hundreds of millions of dollar players, like giving Brock Purdy $50 million a year, and then the dude decides to go play flag football. I'm just not sure that that's going to work. But again, they do it in the NBA, so why not in the NFL as well? Finally, tonight at Madison Square Garden, we keep saying this is the biggest game in the Garden in like 20 years, 30 years, whatever. I mean, every game has been that way. Now, I guess we'll do it again tonight. Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1, Knicks and Pacers. Let's take a look at the current odds for the game. We got the Knicks -4.5 against the Pacers, and the total is 223.5. For those of you who are not familiar with our New York SportsGrid studios, the Garden is actually within like throwing a rock distance, definitely walking distance to our studios. So I'm sure we're going to be rocking and rolling tonight. The game begins at 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll, of course, preview it on Pharrell Coast to Coast, and we'll have all the action on in-game live as well. So make sure you tune in tonight. Make us your second screen for those of you who are planning on wagering on the game tonight. As a reminder, coming up next here on SportsGrid, that is at the top of the hour, which is 1 minute and 35 seconds from now, we'll have Smiley Kaufman's show on golf. That's followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast, 3 o'clock Eastern. The 3-hour extravaganza is on the air today. We're getting ready for the summer, and Scott Farrell go hand in hand. Front Office Sports today at 6, from 6 to 6:30. From 6:30 to 8, we've got game time decisions. And as I mentioned tonight, in-game live game day, lots of baseball day games, lots of baseball night games, and the NBA as well. And that is followed by Sports Rage tonight. And Gabe will recap the game in the NBA, the NHL, and also a lot of Major League Baseball and WNBA as well. Thanks to all of our guests for coming on the show. That includes Kyle Bond from Sporting News. Also, of course, thanks to Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report. And thanks to all of you for watching the show as well. Thanks to Simon Applebaum from the podcast tomorrow will be televised. For my director, Luke, and producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Back with you for another edition of the show. That is tomorrow morning, exclusively here on SportsGrid. We are NewsWire every Monday through Friday, exclusively here live at 11 a.m. Eastern for the very latest on sports betting and the topics surrounding them. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next edition of the show. Have a great Wednesday, everyone. See you then.
Boston knew they were in trouble, Tom, but the most important thing is they fed off of their crowd, and in that third quarter, when Boston could have made a run, the Knicks just put that one last run together to put the game away.
So it was good to see them, to round this all together, good to see them finally put all the pieces in place to close out the series and say, yes, we are playing our best basketball, because that's what they're going to need against the Pacers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom. It's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You are a Pirates fan. I don't think you've got a reason good enough for me to be wearing Met stuff when the Mets are playing the Pirates right now. I don't think I'm gonna go, okay, I see it at the end of your explanation.
I'm gonna put it on Vinny. I'm gonna put it on all the Mets fans. The Pirates won 2 in a row. They fired the manager over the weekend. A new era of Pirates baseball has begun.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on